I've got you over here on the granite surface plate, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to get some video to share with you on my precision levels and checking them and calibrating them if needed. We're getting ready to level both of the American Pacemaker and the new Precision Matthews lathe. I'm going to try to get the Precision Matthews lathe level today. We just finished machining the feet for it, so we're going to start with that because the guys are going to be getting that hooked in tomorrow morning. So let's start with this right here and talk about some precision levels and how to check them and calibrate them. So these two levels here, this is the Starrett number 98, considered a machinist level. In the book, I believe they're considered a mechanics level. These were my dad's. This is the 18-inch, and then this one is the 12-inch. These are common levels that this is a great level to own if you're going to have machinery such as lathes and mills, any kind of machine tool. But you also have the Starrett number 199Z master level. This guy right here. This is really what you want to use to level your machine properly, okay? This one right here has a division, the lines here have a division of 0.5 thousandths per foot, as long as it's calibrated right and you're using it correctly, of course. These number 98 machinist levels, I believe that these divisions here indicate 5 thousandths of an inch per foot. So you can see the accuracy difference between the two. And honestly, I've never had this 199Z, that's the model number, 199Z. I've never had one of these to level my machines until now. This was one that I actually bought from one of my viewers. I cannot remember his name, but he had emailed me and said that he had this level, wasn't using it, and he gave me a great deal on this level right here. So I bought it, and I've never checked it. I just put it up in my toolbox and knew that we were going to get to it one day, and that day is finally here. So we're going to pull this guy out, and we are going to make sure that it is calibrated properly before we go and use it. It does have a nice scraped bottom there. You can see some scratching in there, but I'm going to show you how to make sure that we don't have any high spots, any dings or dents, from people using it, setting it down on the machines. You need to rub it with the precision stone before you actually start working with it or calibrating it. And I'm going to show you that next. So we got a set of precision ground stones. These are the ones that are ground by Lance Baltzley, a friend of mine. We're just going to go ahead and give them a little rub there, get any of the dust and dirt off the surface. All right, we'll just take one. Let's use that one since it's a little less dirty. And then just take your level and just rub it. All you're really doing is polishing it, but if you had any high spots, like if this thing hit an edge or somebody set it down a little too hard, it might create a raised spot somewhere. So all we're doing is just kind of polishing it, and you will feel it on that stone if there's a raised section on there. So we'll just give it a little polish just like that. And it might be a little hard to see, but I'm going to try to give you some reflection there. But all of your high spots from the hand scraping, I call them stars whenever you're looking, when you're I'm eyeballing it and I'm seeing the reflection of the light come across all of the high spots. And it's just a beautiful finish on there. So we know our bottom surface there is good because I just rubbed it with the stone. So this is ready to start checking over here on the granite plate, which is right behind you. And same thing on the number 98. Okay, so here's what the bottom of the 98s look like. Now this is one of the older models right here. They're machined a little differently on the bottom now. This just has a radius machined in there, and it's actually reversed on the newer ones. So we're going to do the same thing. Let me go ahead and clean that surface again. Now I've already done this on this one here, but I'm just showing you. So this is a great use of these precision stones. You just want to just give it a nice little rub and polish it and make sure that there's no high spots that's going to hang up and throw the reading off, okay? So that one's good. I'm going to go ahead and grab the, I have not done it yet to the 12-inch number 98. So let's go ahead and give it a check. You hear it, there's a spot in there, right in this area right there. I could hear it and feel it. Just give it a few more licks with the stone right here, and you can usually see, if you look at it really good through the reflection, I can see there's a little dent right here where it got sat down because there's a high spot that's polished out. But that should be good to go now on the for setting this down onto the granite surface plate. So whenever you go to check and calibrate one of these types of levels, make sure that the surface plate stays clean. You have dust moving around in the air that you can't see, it settles on there. But what I was saying is, it's real easy to check these. Your surface plate, or the plate, whatever surface you're using, doesn't even have to be perfectly level. This is a real simple one to check. So once you set it down there, now I've got a 3-foot scale clamped down very gently to the surface plate here. That's so that we continue to square this up properly. I've leveled my surface plate on the bottom close using this right here, using a screw jack. So it's pretty level to the point where I know it's not going to throw the bubble off here way off. So we have a reference there, a square edge that we're going to take this up to. So it needs to be, you need to reference a square edge every time, the same way every time, in order to get this calibrated right. So once you do that, push it up there. We've got the number 9 and 27 marked just so that I can be in the same position in the center every time, okay? Let it settle out. And this one's always been very, very close, very spot on. And I think we're there now, okay? So all you do, just take it once you have your reading, and it should, once you flip it 180, it should read the same if it's calibrated. We'll take it, and we're just going to flip it. Put it back up against the straight edge there, and let it settle. Give it a few seconds to settle out. And I'm just comparing the measurement of the bubble and the divisions here, and I believe that this level is calibrated about as close as that I can gauge it with my eye on these lines right there. Okay? That's all you got to do, is just reference it. You want to make sure that it's the same. Once you flip it 180, you want it to be the same position, whether it be on the right side or the left side. It just needs to come up to the same position. And then if you need to adjust it, you've got these, on the Starrett, you've got these 7/16 hex nuts right there. So this is where you would take and adjust it very, very, very slightly that way to get it calibrated. All right, so I'm going to say that our number 98, the 18-inch, is calibrated. I don't need to do any adjustment on that. It's going to be good to go. All right. I am going to check the 12-inch here. As a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and set it here just for reference and push it up against the 18-inch. And it looks like it's going to be pretty darn close as well. But we're going to do this. I'm going to do this off camera because I really want to show you the 199, okay? So I'm going to move these guys off out of the way. And let me give you a shot of that before I move it. I think you guys can probably see that a little bit better. I was just making sure the reflection isn't blowing it out. So try to line up one side of the bubble, either side, make note of where it's at. This thing is pretty darn close. So take it and let me get up out of the way here so I don't hit the camera. And another important thing is just make sure you keep your surface clean, okay? We're going to set it back down. I'm going to line it up on my 2 marks there and then let it settle. And if you get the same reading once you flip it 180, you should be pretty well calibrated on that. So this looks good to go. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to check our 199 master level. All right, let me just give it a wipe on the bottom and make sure we have no dust. It feels like every time you do that, you feel dust on your fingertips there. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to go ahead and line up where it needs to be. I'm going to put a mark right here on the 10.5 and then on the 25.5. That'll be our centering right there. All right, and you can see, so we're off to the left side on our bubble. Let's go ahead and give it a flip and see what it looks like when we rotate it 180. Yep, so it's leaning towards the right side this time, so that tells us that that it's definitely out of calibration. And these are very, very sensitive levels, and they really need to be inspected every time you're going to go and use this thing, because even though you calibrate it, you go and you put it back up in the case, you put it in your toolbox. Well, next time you grab it and you pull it out, it's going to be off a little bit probably. And you know, it's the nature of the tool. The stuff moves. The temperature variation is going to change, and that's why I'm actually doing it wrong right here. You should be touching it on this cover right here. This is a plastic cover that's screwed down, and this is what you should use whenever you're touching it, so that the heat of your fingers are not transferring into the cast and coming down and causing variations in this thing to move there. So I'm going to try to remember to pick it up with the plastic cover whenever we go to adjust this thing and calibrate it. I moved that light just to try to stop the reflection from really blinding you over on this side. So we're going to go ahead and see this cap right here. This is just a plug that covers up the adjustment screw down inside there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And actually, I'm going to use my 6-inch scale here to there we go, loosen that guy up. Take the plug out. There's your plug. All right, and then down inside there, you probably can't see it, so there's another slotted screw in there, and that's what you're going to use to adjust the vial. So I've got a screwdriver here that I think will work. I mean, if it'll fit down in the hole there. See, okay, yeah, I think that's going to work. So let's go ahead and give this a, let me fix this light. All right, I apologize if the light and the reflection is going to be bothering you in the video. I'm trying to get it set the best I can here, but let's go ahead and roll with this. So we've got our screwdriver down into the adjustment. I'm going to go ahead and can you see the bubble moving? Try that there. All right, so we're going to screw it down then. And it does not take much. The other thing that I want you to take note of is I'm not walking around, because even walking on the concrete here around your granite plate will cause differences in this level. So it's best to just try to stay put, plant your feet, and then while you're making adjustments and you're watching this vial settle out, try not to move around. We're real close there. I'm going to go ahead and make another slight adjustment here. Try not to block the lighting. I mean, that was just ever so gently on the screwdriver there, and I went too far. Let's see if we can come back. You see how sensitive it is. Got to let it settle. Another slight adjustment there. That's looking pretty close right there. All right, I'm not gonna move it again. I'm gonna take the screwdriver out. All right, let's make note of where trying to block that glare there. It's looking pretty darn close, right? Let's go ahead and pick it up. I'm gonna try to remember to use the plastic here and get this thing turned. I'm gonna come around this way. I forgot to show you the hinge. I hinged this on the granite plate, and it hinged nicely. It was about 30% on each end, so I think our bottom edge is still good on our straightness as far as our hand grinding goes. I'm sorry, hand scraping. All right, so just let it settle out, and I can see that it's a little different there on that side, so we are going to make a slight adjustment to that. All right, I gotta move the camera. All right, let's see if we can line up on our slot again. I believe it's going to be down ever so gently. I mean, I barely put any pressure on that screw, and I think I went too far with it. So I believe at this point you kind of see the picture of what I'm trying to show here on how to calibrate this thing. Matter of fact, I'll just leave it there. Let me take the screwdriver out. We're going to flip that thing around again one more time so that you can see, because that's what you have to do. Make an adjustment, inspect it, flip it 180 or end for end, and then check it again. And every time you flip it, you're trying to get that vial to read in the same location every time you flip this thing. So I'm probably going to have to try to get this without the camera being in front of me here, but I just wanted to share this process with you. So I'm going to tell you what, what I'm going to do is just spin it. I'm making sure all the dust is off back here. What we'll do is we'll pick it up here, and here I'll show you the hinge. It's hinging there and hinging right there. So maybe not perfect, not 30%, but it is hinging in. All right, so we will go ahead and spin it. Okay. Bring it right back over here. Let it settle out. Maybe this camera will give you guys a little bit better shot of the vial here. So we're going to go ahead and just do an inspection here to see where the bubble is. Take note of where it's at on the divisional lines right here, and we're going to flip this thing. It's looking near perfectly centered. If you look at this line right there, see how it's just hanging over a little bit? Same thing on this one right there, how it's just hanging over just a little bit. So it's pretty well centered right there. But let's flip it 180 and then compare the readings. So I'm going to, the camera is right in my way, so I got to pick this up and kind of move it off out of the way so I can flip it around without touching the cast iron part of it. And then we will fly this back in here and very gently set it down and get centered up on our lines there. All right. And then let's let this thing settle. Let's see what it does. I'm going to stop walking around. I'm just going to stand right here behind you and see what this guy does, okay? And what that is telling me is that I'm still out of calibration. Because remember before we flipped it, it looked like it was pretty well centered on those larger divisions. Now you can see that we're to the right side of that marker right there, that line. And we're almost, well, we're one line off right there. So this means that we should be about a 0.5 thousandth out of calibration right there. So we've got to make one more adjustment, or several if I don't get it right, on our adjustment screw. So let me try to do that right now without bumping things. I got to get lined up on the slot down inside there. And let's see if I can move this the right way, because I always forget in my mind which way I've got to move this. But let's see. We want to go down, right? I'm trying not to block the light there. I mean, it is such a fine movement on this screw. I went the wrong way. See that? So I'm going to try to go back. And I don't want to center it because it's going to be, when we calibrate it, it's going to be off to one side, but you want it to be the same. So now take note of that line right there. You can see that we're just to the left of that line. So let's try to use this darker line as reference, which it'll be opposite. So we're going to be comparing it to that line once we flip it back around. So let's do that now. Let's go ahead and flip it again. I'm going to take the screwdriver out without messing with it. All right, and then so let's flip this guy around. All right, there we are, centered. All right, let's let it settle, see what happens. And so we're looking at that line right there. And it looks like we might have hit our mark that time. So it's hard to see because the lines used to be black, and obviously that coating or painting, whatever, has come off over the years. So, but that's where the line is at right there. So remember, before we flipped, we were just to the left side of this line right here. And it looks like we're about the same. So I think this is now calibrated to the closest that we're probably gonna get it. But I'm gonna turn the camera off and just keep checking this before I call it done, just to make sure that I do have it calibrated there. I finished up the checking and calibration on all of my Starrett levels. So we got the 199 calibrated, and we have the 18-inch 98 and the 12-inch number 98. We've got both of those calibrated. And I wanted to go ahead and I checked this one as well, and I made a slight adjustment, but I wanted to show you this one. This is the Lufkin number 58 level. It's nearly identical to the Starrett level. I forget where I found this. I want to say it was either Tennessee or Kentucky a few years ago when Abby and I were doing some antiquing. I found this guy at an antique store. There was a really nice display with a lot of machinist tools. Obviously, someone was probably trying to sell all of their tools. It was probably this gentleman right here, A.P. Spencer. This is the original box that he looks like he taped up to keep it in shape, and this was probably his level. But this is there's something to be said about Lufkin tools. I think every Lufkin tool that I've ever put my hands on are just as good a quality as any of them out there. Okay, they all have that really pretty satin chrome finish on there, and I just want to point out this is a beautiful level right here. So it's just like the Starrett 98. It's that type of level. But I went ahead and calibrated it. It needed a slight adjustment, not very much. And we've got it, once you flip it 180, we've got it to where it's equal on both sides of the vial there. So now this one's good to go. That was the first time that I actually inspected it and checked it. So I'm going to take this one as well and put it in the box. We'll probably use this when we do our machine leveling down there. And then this one here, I had it out too. Now this is the Starrett number 98. This is the 4-inch. This is the smallest one that they make. I actually have two of these. I've picked them up at different times, used. These are a nice little level to have. These are great for setting up work pieces in your mill, or any machine really. I think these are right around $100 or so, maybe a little more now. It's been a few years since I priced them. But that is the smallest one. I thought I would just show you that too. So I was checking it, and it looks good to go. So I had them all out. I was checking all of them because I've got a 6 and an 8-inch as well. I put those back up. But anyway, I just thought I would share these two. So all of our levels are now ready to go. So I am going back down to the other shop, and I'm going to start working on leveling out the lathes.